Hello, friends. This is coming to you from my bed and without a script because I'm feeling lazy. It's also coming to you a bit earlier than normal because I'm going to be out of the country during my normal upload time, so that's why that's happening. I'm not going to have great Wi Fi there. This was a difficult question at first. I've been pretty goal oriented since I was pretty young. I decided between when I was like 10 or 12 years old that I wanted to be a doctor, and now I'm in medical school. So a lot of what I've done has been a big part of my life. I wasn't involved in too many clubs, and a lot of what I was involved with I knew was going to be like a short-term thing. So it was hard to think of like a hobby or a location that I thought was going to be important and isn't now. Just because I've always been pretty forward thinking and always thinking of whether or not hobbies or locations would be important. But people, you never know about people. So I've chosen a person to talk about, someone who I thought was going to be a friend for a very long time. He was one of the three friends that I stayed in contact with after high school. So I figured if I kept in contact with him that long after high school, he would be a long term friend. And that has not turned out to be the case, unfortunately. Part of why I was able to stay in contact with him as long as I did is because he started going to the church that I went to in high school. Although by then I was in college, so I didn't go to it very often except for when I was home. He had also yeah, it's kind of a hard thing to talk about. Spoiler alert, I'm not friends with him anymore. The ending is sad. He was a good friend. I think probably freshman or sophomore year of college, he had emailed me a bunch of scripts of some short stories that he wanted someone to look over, and I'm into writing. So I looked them over, I did some editing, made some suggestions, but they were really great stories. Powerful, impactful metaphors. And I thought this was going to be part of the nature of our friendship. Like, he would write something, I could edit it. I could write something, he would edit it. In one of the stories, he talked about maybe one day wanting to be a theologian or a writer. Imagine being called Dr. His last name. I'm not going to use names. And so that was like kind of what I would assume would happen in the future too. That he would become a writer or a theologian or some kind of thinker. Because he was a very, very intelligent, very thoughtful person. His writings were. I mean, I knew he was a smart guy. He was autistic, so not everything that was in his head managed to come out all the time. So I didn't realize just how intelligent he was until I read some of his writing, and it was incredible. But then Christmas break, my junior year of college, I think it was, I was visiting my sister in Colorado, which was a miserable experience. But that's another story. So I actually, um, like during that trip, I went back to one of his stories and reread it just because of how good it was. And not long after that, I got the phone call that he jumped from a parking garage and was in the hospital. He had. So it was Christmas Day that he did this. He just walked out of his mother. So his parents were separated but lived close to each other. So he walked out of his mother's house, took the car, drove half an hour to school, to the top floor of the parking garage, and there was a video camera there, so it shows him like Like, I didn't see it, this is what I've heard. But he walks to the edge, walks back to his car, walks back to the edge, and jumps. Someone found him on the ground, probably not long after. Didn't see him jump, but found him on the ground, alive, not communicating. And a couple days later, he passed away. I was hoping to get to see him before he passed, but wasn't able to. Prayed for a miracle, but didn't happen. So that was the end of that friendship, because it was the end of him. It was really, in a way, it has impacted me to this day, because suicide is now something I pay a little bit more attention to than I did before, and I'm just aware of how common an issue it is. Like, it's in the top 10 killers in the United States. Like, it's up there with, like, heart attacks, strokes, cancer, vehicle accidents, drug overdoses. But suicide in particular is something that has been increasing recently, too, and no one knows why. Why? Like, what's the ultimate driver of more people killing themselves? So that's something I've given a lot of thought to. I thought he was going to be my friend, like, for years, like a long-term friend, but he's not anymore. And it's a shame, because he was, like I said, thoughtful, intelligent, very, very kind person. The college that he went to now has like an autism support system in honor of him. You know how we had the Phoenix for our school? They had the Daedalus, and that year's Daedalus was dedicated to him. One of his stories was featured in it, because like he had a big impact on the people at school. Like, he was not unloved. He was kind, he was quiet, like, great person, but not part of my life anymore. So, stay alive.